Okay, testing. Ooh, we get to go over your ethics paper today. Excellent. Let's do that.
At least it's in the early part of the year.
Yeah, that way I don't forget about it. Well, it's actually very pertinent to what I'm about ready to go over, which is helpful. All right, this ethics paper will consider the fundamental problem of software availability and reliability. Availability is uptime, aka it's ready, and reliability is does it do what it's supposed to, when it's supposed to. You'll get to better definitions of those terms later. Most applications we write are viable with a low success rate. So if you're writing a game and it crashes in the middle of the game, you know, all that happens is people are unhappy. You're writing software for a heart rate monitor, it crashes, bad things may occur. Health technology is a huge exception. Heart rate monitor, there's plenty of other health devices. For example, the Therac 25, this is a really old machine, was a radiation therapy machine that due to software errors gave lethal doses of radiation to patients. So you can go read about this, but here's the technical way it was done. By the way, this was the 80s, so when you're thinking 80s, you don't think about what you see here. In actuality, this, oh cool, look at all that. Maximize your window, nice. It's similar to this, but this is actually way more powerful than what they had. Generally in the 80s, it was like, give me a command. You type like the key, hit enter, and then it would say something, and then you could hit another key, hit enter, it would say something, and then that's basically it. You couldn't do all the CD around or paste or piping or anything. It was like one command go, and that's all you got. Nowadays, you can think of it as just touchscreen, but typing is what it was. So the technician would mistakenly type X into the computer, which signified the X-ray beam. X-ray beam, that's what they called it, the high beam. Immediately realizing the error, they would change the X to an E for an electron beam. So in this program, you could actually change your previous command and hit enter for the electron low radiation beam. Then the machine showed it was ready to start treatment. This sequence must all occur in 8 seconds, by the way. Hopefully you're all used to that. Once you get used to a program, you can click through it really fast. I mean, games are like that, so you just click real fast to get through. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So 8 seconds is plenty of time. By the way, in this particular sequence, in the time frame was never tried in the original testing of the machine. The computer gave the signal beam ready, and the technician pressed B to deliver the beam to the patient. But then the computer responded with an error message. Usually this message meant the treatment had not been delivered, when in fact it had. So the technician repeated the process and delivered another beam, and yet again the error message occurred. So what happened was the technician would try and get the machine to respond that it delivered, when it actually just kept delivering it over and over and over again. After investigation of the problem, you can go read about the details here. Also directly, I gave it to you. It was determined that the software the software at fault was developed by a single programmer. This single programmer focused on integrating the software with the hardware and spent little time on testing the software piece. The system was simply tested as a whole. Okay. So, in other words, what's going on, they made this radiation machine. They had one programmer, and his job was to write the code and get it working. And they said, hurry up, we need to get this shipped out so people can start using it. And so he didn't spend that much time on testing. All that happened was everyone made their different components, put together, and then they did an integration or systems test at the end. They didn't unit test every single piece. So the question is, oh, and by the way, I think it was 3 people died from this, and then another 5 are led to cancer that they had to deal with later in life. Yeah. So yeah, this did kill people. It was literally a death rate. So the question is, what should the fallout be? What should occur? I mean, we shouldn't ignore the problem. First question, who's at fault here? The machine's made by a company, of course. Hopefully that made in some sense. It's actually a Canadian company. And they put it together and paid one programmer to write the software. And usually when you think about settlement in court, you do have to find fault or find the cause. So, or Who's at fault here? Or who's to blame? We'll play the blame game real quick. Oh. No one wanted to jump out and say it?
The company is liable.
The company's liable. All right, nice. That's a better way of putting it than that fault or blame. Nice. Well done. Well done. All right, the company's liable. What should the company, well, okay. So the company has to pay for, what's the technical term? I keep forgetting. Legal term. Whatever. The court fees. There we go. I can't remember. But what should the company do internally?
They should test all their software as well thoroughly.
Okay. Should the programmer be held accountable here? Why is that?
Oh, he made a big mistake, which killed some people.
Anyone else? All right. While many people may quickly conclude it is solely the programmer's fault, this problem can be more complex. In industry, software testing is a financial investment. A company must pay a team of people, programmers and others, to test their system. As the law of diminishing return kicks in, the cost of testing increases with the need of higher availability and reliability, a radiation machine. So companies must compete. They are tempted to reduce software testing in order to provide a lower cost product. So what? Remember, they hired one programmer to do this, one guy, and then they all came together and tested it afterwards. You're still saying the programmer should be held accountable
I
here?
think he should still be held accountable, but it's not solely his fault. But
Solely his
it's
fault,
still
okay.
partially his fault.
What should he have done instead? There's a good question.
Well, brought up with his manager that he needed more time to actually test.
Okay. Should he refuse to write code until it's tested?
Well, you can't test it until the code's written.
Yes, you can. Sorry. Sorry. We'll get to test-driven development. Maybe I should have shown that first. But in test-driven development, you actually write all your tests, and then you write your code to your tests. So you can come up with it, and this is not an uncommon way to do it. Sorry to jump on you like that. But yeah, you can write your tests before you write your code. And a lot of people do argue that that is the way you should program. It definitely has the nice effect of if you have a board of a bunch of red lights of all your different tests as your code, you're like, okay, and you just try to get your board to go green, so it's almost a game. So some people really like doing it that way. And there's pros and cons to it. But in the pro, of course, is you're writing most of your tests. The con is it takes a long time before you actually have a product because you're just writing all your tests and you have nothing really to show for it. So yeah, should the programmer have refused to write code in order to end the situation until the tests were written? I'm not trying to.
Depends on the situation.
Depends. Oh, nice. Oh, beautiful. I love that answer. So what situations would you do either?
Well, in this more high-risk situation, definitely refuse.
Okay.
But in like a video game
But he's
setting,
being paid to do this. The company says, write the software, don't write the test.
write the test anyway. What are they gonna do? Fire you?
Better than jail time. There's that. Okay. For the first part of your ethics paper, by the way, we're going to have multiple questions here. Answer, how do we determine how much testing is necessary? How much testing is necessary? Ooh. all of it, but plenty of game developers don't fully test their code before releasing it. And they still make a lot of money, and no one dies. Well, I'm sure someone has died. Actually, no. Yeah, someone died playing World of Warcraft. Am I recording? Okay. I don't know if that's still a popular video of the online World of Warcraft funeral. I guess we'll talk about that one later. All right. So do you really need that much testing for a game?
I mean, it would be nice.
It would be nice, but is it necessary? I'm just playing devil's advocate here. Someone else jump in. Don't make me the one that's just always arguing with y'all. I'm really good at it.
Depends on the situation.
Oh, okay, great. I mean, that was the original answer. Good. So
for a video game, you probably don't need as much testing as something like medical equipment, which needs to be right every time or someone could die.
all right. Can someone generate other examples? Besides me.
For a game, you might want to, some game code, it's not as important to, test super thoroughly, but if it's, talking to one of your databases, you want to make sure that's safe too.
Sure.
Test.
Well, okay.
So, there is some important stuff in games, but, no one's going to die, but your company will.
Your company will. True. Well, you say databases. When would you need to have a high level of assurance on a database, and when could you have a low level of assurance?
When would you, say it's safe, secure, versus, not?
So we are going into security here. Safety and security end up being very similar. We are talking more about safety here because we don't want people to die. So I gave the example of video game. Let's try a different example. Can someone come up with software that doesn't run on a video game or for a video game or medical? How about another example? What other software is there?
Website maybe?
Website for
Banking stuff.
Okay. All right. How much testing does that need?
A lot.
A lot. Does it need the same or less or more than the health? Ooh, there's a great question. There's a great question.
Roughly equivalent, because you should be testing all of it.
Why do you believe that it should have roughly the same testing as the medical equipment?
Well, you don't want someone to lose their life savings who has to pay for their cancer treatment.
You're linking the two. I was trying to avoid
Well, it's all
that.
related. You also want them to be able to buy video games. I mean.
All right. All right. So a website that's not a bank, or a different example. Linking it is good, by the way. Okay, airplane software. High testing or low testing?
Hi.
High. More or less than health, or the same?
Roughly the same.
Why would be roughly the same?
Because it's also due to the fact that lives are.
There we go. Lives are, yeah, sorry. You said it, he did the picture, he did the hand motions. I don't have a camera right now. So yeah, they're both life situations, both video games or not. Hopefully Google Maps is not a life or death situation. I'm sure we can make a movie where it is, but in general, it's considered not. All right. So how do we determine how much test is necessary? Okay. Can we come up with any other examples?
This isn't an example, but there was a story about some people who were driving and focusing just on their Google Maps and not on the actual road, and they drove off a cliff into like a river
I mean, that's
or
terrible.
something.
That's awful. Computer science, we kind of have the dark sense of humor. It's true. It's true. That's awful. There we go. This reminds me of all those videos of people looking at their phone and not where they're going, so they like walk into like a fountain.
Oh, it's reminding me of when
And security guards like, let me help you out. In this one, I couldn't believe it. The lady just started yelling at the security guard. Why didn't you tell me I was about ready to walk into that? I don't know what to say. All right.
Can you say?
Have a good day, man. All right. With regards to Theric 25, if the system is too expensive due to testing, oh, that's a great question, then it would be inaccessible for certain individuals who cannot afford it. Right?
Hmm?
Is there a viable reason to sell a less reliable, life-threatening system to potentially help more citizens? I.e., to do the testing for 99.9999% accuracy means that it would cost, I'll just say $1 million for the sake of argument, a lot of money that people can't afford to use the thing. Well, if you drop it down to 80%, then maybe it only costs a couple hundred to use.
I'm not doing that.
I think it shouldn't be illegal, but there needs to be like disclosure about that, about the risks. Like,
Okay.
You can't just say it's the same risk as the expensive one. You have to make sure people are aware of it before they use it.
Oh, okay. So that implies that you'd have two versions.
Well, I mean, assuming there's $1 million one and the
Okay, the two
$100
exist.
one,
Okay.
they're competing.
All right.
Yeah, like
Because
different companies or something.
what makes this question even harder is, in general, the company only has enough resources to make one.
But the company next door can make another one.
The company what?
The company next door can make the other one.
Okay, sure, and then they could compete. All right. That's fine. That's fine. You said it would not happen. Why is that? I guess it'd be more. Let's paint the picture. This is used to treat cancer. So the doctor says you got, 3 months to live, and we're 90% accurate that you're going to die in 3 months. You have $1 million, 99.999% chance that it'll at least treat it and give you a high chance of survival. Doesn't mean that you're going to, but we'll just say high. Or you can use the one that's 70% chance of not killing you. So 30% chance of dose of radiation.
Well, it's kind of the same thing as like paying for a more expensive surgeon kind of thing.
Sure.
I don't know. Like, there's usually different brands. Some of them are cheap, some of them are, I don't know, like, yeah.
So the question though was, is there a viable reason? I don't know why there's two there. A reason to sell a less reliable, life-threatening system to potentially help more citizens or people. I use the word citizens, just people. I wonder what the next sentence says. Or is there another way to solve these issues? Would you use the machine? There we go.
This one's a doozy.
It's always at this part of like, are they thinking or are they just zoned out? I can't tell. It's 8 a.m. This is. So we have one person that says, yes, there should just be a large disclaimer saying that, hey, look, we haven't gone through the testing. We recognize that this has 30% chance of killing you.
I personally wouldn't use a machine.
Right. So yeah, would you use the machine? We already got a couple people say no. And I was like, well, even if you have a 90% chance of dying in 3 months. Anyone else saying, he says giant disclaimer, anyone saying that we should say that this is not legal or should not be allowed?
Yeah, you can put like regulations on it, so like they have to make it, like they have to test it well and stuff.
Right, so okay, so you're saying apply the regulations, the disclaimer is not viable, so the machine is just gonna cost $1 million.
Well, I like the disclaimer way, but I'm just
Okay.
throwing that out.
All right, so that's the thing. If the government could come in and say, hey, look, you can't sell a machine that has a 30% chance of killing you, and then the machine costs a lot of money. Sure.
Those are really the two options, right?
There are two options. Okay, there's always more than, well,
Yeah.
in general, there's more than two options. All right. I guess we'll move on here. Let you think about that one. What do we got here? Okay, this is separate but interesting. By the way, I'm just trying to give you as many ethics questions as possible so that you can go and fill out 2 pages, because I know we don't like writing. So you don't actually have to answer all these questions, but you do have to, your paper has to be or addressing at least some of them. It can't just be about kitties and ponies or something. Secondly, consider that most U.S. states require a certification process for non-software engineering. You can go look this up. You want to be a civil engineer, you have to go take a civil engineering test, and you have to be certified, et cetera, et cetera. And usually, you're only certified by the state. The certification process helps ensure the engineer can build a reliable product. Should a similar process be required for software engineers?
You will assist me with my answers to these questions, but I think there should be like a state certification, but like companies aren't required to hire software engineers with the certification. Hire ones without it. But the certification says that the state says, yes, this person is someone we think is competent to have the job.
Okay, so it's not an enforced certification, it's more of a, almost like a degree type certification, right? You get your degree, okay, you know all the theory. Now we're going to test to make sure you know about actual testing. So certification, certified, okay, but it's not enforced. All right, so we have the non-enforced version. And some of those do exist right now. Anyone else? No one wants to take a stand?
I'm pretty sure people are going to develop software either way. So whether or not you hire someone with or without certification isn't really going to matter.
So the trick here is if you're going to do a health device, you have to only use software engineers that have been certified. Should that be the way it is?
Yeah.
Oh, we got a yes. Okay, why? Got a yes. Finally, yes.
Even if there is a better option, a hospital's going to want someone who the government has said yes to.
Okay.
So what do you do if your company is in California where they have a really strict certification process, but you're hiring someone remote who's in South Carolina, which has a very relaxed...
Everyone moved to Texas. Okay. we're all certified. Okay. No, okay. Sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well,
Yeah.
I think I finished, but like if
Yeah,
you hire
just-
someone remote from South Carolina where they have a more relaxed certification process.
Standardize it.
Oh, okay. Oh, so make it a federal one. All right. A federal certification process, because the engineering certification is done by state. Of course, that's a little more helpful because the buildings are usually constructed in the state. So that yeah, syncs together better. All right, so we have a federal Oh boy. I do not want to be a part of that meeting in Congress. Oh my goodness. Okay, anyways. All right, so make it a federal one. Okay. Anyone else? I need to try not to state all my opinions, because I got plenty of them. Okay, why should there be a federal one? You said the hospital wants them, so then why would the hospital want that?
If I guess it goes down to like the government trusts these programmers, and for a hospital, you're going to want someone at least trustable to make your equipment.
Okay, you want at least someone trustable. All right. So the certification's there to increase the trust at the software. Okay, okay. And then you're saying just make it optional?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't trust the government any more than I trust the programmer.
Whew, all right. Now we're getting to the government. Lame. All right, let's just move on. I don't want to talk about the government. Okay, good. Any other questions, comments about this before I assign what you need to do? You are free to give your opinion on what you think is right or wrong regarding the way this technology has impacted society and the moral obligations of a computer professional. However, you must provide a balanced discussion of it utilizing other sources to create a logical argument for your opinion. Good sources include the Bible, ACM Code of Ethics, IEEE Code of Ethics, and other sources from the library or respectable sites on the internet. I love that term because I already quoted Wikipedia. All right. I'm looking for your ability to create a logical argument including 3 or more sources. Make sure there are 3 sources. Okay? 3 sources at least. More is fine. 1 is not. Neither count they 2 unless I didn't proceed to 3. Okay. And 2 pages, 12.5. Oh, double space. All right. Yeah, I really don't want to read much here. Okay? I'm not going to lie. Hey, we got I have my own Bible versions. When you build a new house, make a parapet around your roof so that you may not bring the guilt of bloodshed on your house if someone falls from the roof. So a parapet's just something kind of build around it. So obviously when you fall off, you don't fall all the way and die. Let's see, Corinthians. But take care that this right of yours does not somehow become a stumbling block for the weak. All right. A little bit of a stretch here, but we're developing skills that people just don't understand how computers work. So use it for good. Let's see. Matthew, you're the salt of the earth, but if the salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled by men. You're the light of the world. A city on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. That'd be quite silly. Instead, they put it on a stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before men, that they may see your good deeds and praise your Father in heaven. All right. That's fine. Oh, Luke, of course. And most classic, do unto others as you have others do unto you. That really just leads straight to the, would you use the machine? That one's pretty direct. Do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful for building up others according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen. That's the, please don't give me a nasty ethics paper. And of course, everything's permissible. Everything's permissible, but not everything's beneficial. Everything's permissible, but not everything is constructive. Nobody should seek his own good, but the good of others. Yes. All right. Any other questions, comments? Yes.
Just double checking with the Bible course list on there. Those are fair game for sources.
Yes.
All right. Just
Make sure you link it though.
All right.
Don't just randomly start quoting Bible verses. I mean, I already did the link Luke straight to would I use the machine. That one's pretty direct. There might be a couple of stretches here and there, and I get that. But yeah, definitely link it directly, otherwise it doesn't count.
Does the Bible count as one source, or does each book from the Bible count as a separate source?
I love that question. That's a beautiful question. We'll go ahead with each book counts as a separate source.
What?
The Bible's a collection of books.
Yeah.
It's not one book.
Yeah.
Right. So we'll say each book counts as a separate source.
So I can just use 3 books of the Bible?
Yes.
Oh, gosh.
That's fine. I'm good with that. Got over 60 books, guys. All right.
Plenty of options.
Plenty of options.
All condensed into one.
Condensed. I don't know. It's still pretty thick.
Yes.
Pretty hefty.
You don't have to look very hard to find all of them, though. It's kind of just right there.
Yeah. What was the question? I forgot. Someone was asked in a competition or in a fight, who would win, the U.S. Constitution or the Bible? I'm like, just by volume, the Bible just wins, like flat out. There's no. Anyways, great question. Any other questions? Nope. All right.